everyone. Thank you so much for joining in today. Today we have with us Mr. Chandrashekar Mudraganam. He is the CEO of Cloud Softech Solutions Limited. So thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you very much, Supriya, for having me on this call.
The pleasure is ours, sir. So, sir, over the past year, BCSSL has moved decisively from a services-led model towards becoming a full-stack digital infrastructure player, right? And you're also looking to power India's AI-driven digital infrastructure. So if we could begin this conversation by discussing what exactly triggered this strategic shift and how do you define success of this transition?
For that, probably you'll have to just see how BCSSL, that is Cloud Softech Solutions, has evolved over the last few years, and how the tech landscape globally also is evolving, and the kind of disruptions which we are also seeing. So obviously we wanted to be one step ahead of the curve and ensure that we are incorporating all the latest things which are happening around the world. And we are partnering with the global companies to see that this is. So the whole idea is to ensure that this disruption which is happening, not just in India, but even across the world, is more meaningful to all our customers. We are able to add more value. We are able to make things easier for them and ensure that even they benefit from this disruption or this, and they transit seamlessly across this landscape without disrupting their operations or having their ROIs maximized. So all these kinds of things. So that is the basic thought process of us transforming ourselves from a services-led company into what we are evolving today. That's the basic thought process.
Since we are speaking about disruption, right, I'd like to understand. I mean, I can see your logo mentions that think big and AI first, right? And we are in the AI first era because companies are now moving on from pilots to large-scale deployment. However, there is a gap over there. When we see the number of pilots, the percentage is very high. But when they move to large-scale deployments, right, the percentage is actually quite low. So if I had to ask you, what are some of the biggest gaps that you are witnessing in India's AI enterprise readiness?
A very relevant question for us also, because we have now started graduating from the pilot phase to larger deployments. So some of the projects which we have done here in Telangana for the government also, be it for the law enforcement or others, we are seeing that transition from pilots because we are able to establish what we have committed, and then the customer also is seeing, and we are able to now scale it. Now, to answer to that question, the biggest hurdle or the challenge which we are facing, I wouldn't call it hurdle, but the challenge which we are facing, two things. One, the infrastructure, and second one, obviously, is the training or the people who are able to use these things, because there is a paradigm shift in how this has to be also used. So these two also now we are addressing. So we are also getting into creating the necessary manpower. We partner with companies for skill development and all, especially in areas of cybersecurity and all, and also the infrastructure. So we are trying to cover these areas as well.
So, sir, I'm glad you mentioned infrastructure, right? Because usually when we have these conversations with technology leaders, they always mention about how infrastructure is one of the biggest bottlenecks when it comes to AI deployment, right? So if I had to ask you, as enterprises are moving from, experiment to deploying AI at a large scale, what are some of the infrastructure conversations that are changing inside the boardrooms today compared to, some time ago?
Because the deployments are across geographies. They are not just in the big cities where you have relatively better infrastructure, but when you're talking about law enforcement on the borders, areas, remote locations and all, so they're creating the necessary infrastructure, whether it is the bandwidth, whether it is the uninterrupted power or the qualified manpower. So all these things come into play and they have an impact on the deployments. So we are addressing each one of them also as we go about, because our deployments are spread across geographies. we are doing at the border areas, we are doing in remote locations, uh, everywhere. That's the kind of experience we are getting.
That was a great insight again, sir. And Blue Cloud Softech Solutions also provides solutions across data center, cybersecurity, and semiconductors and healthcare as well. So how do you balance the speed of diversification without diluting the focus on execution capability?
Delivery capability, because now we are, as I said, I repeated that we are moving beyond POCs to large scale deployments. So we have dedicated teams which handle. So we have structured in a way that we have specific business units looking after each of these sectors. So it is healthcare, whether it is cybersecurity, whether it is telecom, whether it is infrastructure, whether it is defense. So we have a specific business units headed by a business unit owner who takes the whole responsibility, and we have the deployment capability across the nation, and now we are building capability across different continents as well. Obviously, going to partner with local companies. And we're also going to have a small presence, but then the key there is building local capabilities. We are talking to governments in several countries, which will enable us to create those skill sets and all. We just don't want to sell us out the journey of when they are using these things and all in the most optimal way.
So, sir, while you're on this, phase of growth, I'd like to understand, what would be BCSSL's next, big bet? Would it be deeper product innovation or global expansion, partnerships or acquisitions? I mean, what are you looking at for the next phase of growth?
We already have a bouquet of products which are now proven and tested. So while we enter the growth phase in terms of scaling these products, whether it's healthcare or cybersecurity or education or our smart applications, we are getting into this large scale deployments. And so one is customer acquisition, and then like by spreading our marketing reach through partnerships, whether it is Africa, whether it is Europe, or even APAC and the US. So we are through partners. We are also our own wings in the form of having and obviously we are also looking at both organic and inorganic growth in the form. So we are always on the lookout for point which have proven technologies, skill sets, which we can scale using our capability, which we can scale. So we are looking at that also.
So, sir, lastly, if I had to ask you, right, if you were to revisit this conversation in, say, another 10 years, what would you want BCSSL to be known for in India's technology story?
Well, I would say that from that kind of perspective, BCSL would like to emerge as an organization which touches lives, which has positive impact on people's lives, and it makes their lives more easier, more healthier, more happier. That kind of an impact. That is the ultimate takeaway for us.
Thank you so much, sir. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you. However, before we conclude, I'd like to ask you, is there anything that you wish I had asked and you'd like to touch upon? I mean, please share your views.
Well, at this point of time, not much, but I would like to leave this meeting with a closing statement that we are in for a very exciting time at the Blue Cloud, and we look forward to engaging with all the stakeholders, whether it is the government, citizens, because we feel that we have the capability to kind of create positiveness, we can make lives better, and then and contribute our might to society, where the biggest element obviously is the use of technology in day-to-day lives.
Thank you so much, sir. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you, and it was great to understand, what Blue Cloud Softech Solutions does. And I hope I'll be able to take your views across to our audience, as eloquently as you did. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Supriya. Thank you very much.